One of the more interesting topics surrounding the country of Costa Rica is the fact that they don't have a military. At first, I was skeptical about how this could even be a real thing, but as I got deeper within my research, I soon was able to see why this was okay. I hope you'll be able to understand why it's okay too, and why some people refer to this as the best thing that's ever happened to Costa Rica. In order to better understand this concept, it's best to look back at the history of Costa Rica and how the military became abolished. Let's rewind back to 1948. In early March and April of 1948, the National Liberation Army, along with Costa Rican government, clashed for a month and a half on Costa Rican soil. The war was started due to the results of that year's presidential election, which occurred in February. Aurelio Yolade was declared as the winner of the election over former President Rafael Calderon. There had been many speculations that Yolade had committed fraud in the election results, but since he had taken his place in office, many of those people were silenced. In response, the Costa Rican Civil War took place. However, the war didn't last very long. It lasted only 44 days, and soon the side of the Costa Rican government ran short on supplies and sent a letter to the National Republican leader that they were surrendering. It also came to their realization that the United States was getting involved, and they didn't want to fight the US. As a result of the war, Jose Figueres, who was the leader of the National Liberation Army, was elected president and installed a form of provisional government. As a result of this new form of government, the military of Costa Rica was abolished. Costa Rica's military has been abolished ever since December 1st of 1948. Pictured below is Jose destroying a wall. This wall symbolized the Costa Rican army's resilience, and since there was no militia, Jose tore it down December 1st, 1948. Now that you have a main grasp of basic information, the main question that probably pops in your head now is how the hell does Costa Rica survive with no military? The answer to that question is plain and simple: the United States. The United States for the past 80 years has had a military presence in Costa Rica. After Costa Rica's military was abolished, Costa Rica, of course, would get attacks from other countries, especially from their neighboring country, Nicaragua. When Nicaragua started to do this, the United States informed them that if they did not stop, they would receive retaliation. Of course, Nicaragua stopped. There are other questions surrounding this topic, most notably, why is this a good idea? Most people, especially Americans, have a difficult time wrapping their head around how this is a good idea. Although, can you blame us for even asking that? Take this graph for example. The United States spends more money on its military than the next 7 countries combined. These statistics are based from 2017. It's projected by the end of 2020, the United States will have spent $720 billion just on defense spending. Now, compared to Costa Rica not spending a dime on their military, people become worrisome about how this is a good idea, even when the United States watches over Costa Rica. Here's why. Costa Rica is seen as a third world country, or in modern terms, underdeveloped. Costa Rica has never had the money for development because when they were spending their money on everything, including their militia, there was very little left over for growth. Ever since the military was abolished, money was then allocated towards healthcare and education. These two groups were desperate for reform, so it happened to be one of the first categories they tackled. Today, Costa Rica ranks as one of the best healthcare systems in the world, ranking above China, India, and the United States. After the essentials were tackled, a reform of the economy was needed. Costa Rica has been able to allocate money towards different companies and technical firms like IBM, Intel, and more to broaden their technology spectrum. While it is nowhere near as vast as other countries, it is definitely a step forward from there being no presence of this technology. Reports have shown that in the near future, Amazon will establish a distributing zone in Costa Rica to ship all the different crops and supplies that Costa Rica has, most notably coffee. One main misconception is that since there is no military, they have no form of protection. This is wrong because, as mentioned before, the United States has been present in Costa Rica. And the second reason is Costa Rica has a task force. The task force, like other organizations in Costa Rica, has definitely been reinforced due to the extra funds left over from defense spending. One fascinating note about Costa Rica is that the people of Costa Rica are so proud of their country that they have formed a mutual alliance with the task force that they would help make sure that the country is always safe. In fact, Costa Rica ranks number 1 in the entire world on the Happiness Index. This index shows that the people in Costa Rica are the happiest about the country that they live in. Out of 140 countries and provinces tested, Costa Rica was declared as the happiest, contrary from the United States, who came in 108th. One of the big issues most Americans have is that the United States is spending way too much money in aiding other countries, such as Costa Rica. Since the United States has a good presence in Costa Rica, do you believe that we are allocating our money correctly and wisely when it comes to this situation? Take some time to reflect on this. Not so fast. I actually have one more question for you. I specifically left this detail out because I wanted your initial reaction first on the previous question from the previous slide. What I didn't mention is that since the United States has had a presence in Costa Rica, in return, Costa Rica has elected not to press taxes on the United States for goods and supplies, most notably coffee. Now, coffee is a major industry in Costa Rica, and it just happens to be one of the top producers in the world. Now that I gave you this information, does your point of view change from the previous question? If not, why? Just a little final note, just wanted to thank all of you that tuned in to this presentation. I hope you found this a little bit interesting as much as I did. This is something that I've been fascinated with and that me and my partner talked a lot about in our meetings. So I hope that you gained a little insight from it. Thanks.